Hi, welcome back to Superpower Saturday with your girl Madeline Berry. I am here to host and guide you through this part of Born to be Super, Unleash Your Inner Superpower. Today I'll be covering chapter 1, and the name of that chapter is What's a Superpower? Let's pray before I go any further. So, Father, in the name of Jesus, I thank you and praise you for another opportunity to share the message I've received that everyone that you made in the image and likeness of you, has been birthed with innate gifts that you gave them to change the world. We praise you for the clarity that I'll speak with and the knowledge that I pray is transferred to the people who are watching this. God, we praise you, give you glory and honor and thanks. The privilege is all mine to steward the ears that are hearing the words that I say. So I praise you now in Jesus' name. Amen. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, so today we're covering chapter 1. I think I already said that. I'm doing it a little differently. So what's going on with me in this channel right now is I am playing with different ways to share information with you. I am praying that every time I do a different video and it maybe has a different way of being presented, at some point, maybe you'll contact me and let me know which you like best. Do you like me just talking the whole way through, which I'll continue to do, either with or without slides. Today it's going to be with slides. I'm going to use the same data points that I used in a couple of videos prior to now, where I have an AI considering my manuscript along with information from my white paper from Heaven's Intelligence, where it's about identity. And so I'm going to be talking through these slides as we get going and work through all the different things that you see on the screen and just kind of talk you through it. I'm not sure if I'll pop in and show you my face over the times that I'm recording it, or if I'll just let the show go with the slides. But I'll come back at the end just to say I hope you enjoyed the show, and to make all of your comments in the comment section. Please give me feedback. I'd love to hear from you. Follow, share, like, subscribe, and all the things, because we need to grow this audience again. I'm coming back after having this video portal to the world open for a while, and then I kind of got off and was doing other things, but now I'm back. So now that I'm back, I want to welcome all the people back and open it up to more people, because my message is an important one about you. It's about you. And so thank you for enjoying in advance this show that I'm about to talk you through. Talk to you soon. Name of this deck is The Vivid Self. That comes from inside of the chapter. So let's get started. First slide. Here we are, stepping across the threshold. You know what a threshold is? It's like the opening to another room or another door or into a space. Several doors, several options. And the subtitle is Leaving the Reduced Self Behind and Recovering the Vivid Identity You Were Born to Inhabit. This is you. All right. There's a place in the book where I ask a question about the pandemic, the global pandemic, the one that we all had some type of response to. a lot of people were being laid off. They were resigning. They were flat out quitting their jobs. Kids were home. They were doing remote school, and the whole system was trying to figure out what that looked like. Kids on Zoom, parents at home. Some parents were happy to be home, being educated with their kids just to see what's been going on. Others were not really happy all the time because the kids were always home. But having the kids at home and you being at home was actually a gift to be able to communicate with your kids and reconnect with your kids. They were in school for however much time of the day. You were at work for however much time of the day. Came home, you had something to eat. I don't know if you had conversations with your kids or not, but you split ways. They had to go to sleep. You didn't really have time with them like families typically would like to have. And so internally, I believe there was a shout and a cry going out to have a break or something new, a shift in schedule, a shift in the way you see things. And so this slide shows the great resignation versus the reduced self, who you had become. And so the great resignation looks like millions didn't just leave their jobs. They refused to return to underwhelming routine actions. It was an external rebellion against a deeper internal exhaustion. And the reduced self was where the mind was designed to run as a unified whole. Stress, noise, and fragmentation pulled it out of sync. So we were out of sync as adults. We began to cope instead of dream, mistaking a slow reduction for maturity. So at the bottom, you are not a broken machine failing to try harder. You are a finely tuned instrument running on a 10% battery. So all of this back and forth at work, routine, mundane action, just wearing you down and making you literally forget who you were born to be, who had forgotten all the things that you used to say, I want to do this when I grow up. So it basically, you grew up into a system that was designed to put your kids where you're standing in 10 years after they get to college, go to college and learn things that they think they want to know, but just following the plan to go and get the job that pays the most, or the thing that you can do that will make you the most or give you the greatest benefits. We go to the next slide where we can look at what the whole looks like internally for us. So the outer core, it almost looks like skin, where you have the outer layer, the inner layer, and then you have like the inside of you. So you have learned skills and routine actions. These are things that people will go to school for, to learn how to do, that may or may not be like natural things that you can do. But because of something you heard growing up, or ideas or people and examples that you saw doing great things and you maybe looked up to them, you said, I want to be like them. So you made a plan in your head or in your heart to be at the same level or with the same skill set as someone else that you admired or looked up to or something like that. So it says these tasks we perform to make ends meet, driven by repetition and eternal demand. they're often the source of burnout. And that's exactly what happens. When people get to a certain age, they just kind of flip or want to just retreat because they're tired of doing the same things over and over and over again versus the talents and hobbies that we have. There are areas of proficiency and interest often used as personal retreats from the noise of life. So the things that you did growing up, just like getting started with something to loosen up your brain, to do something harder. I know I was like that. I would have to like sit at my computer and loosen up my brain by playing some games. And I wasn't a gamer, and I was more of a like a word game type person, and like, I don't know, strategy things, because I was relaxing my mind to get into creating something. And so that's kind of like what loosened me up. And then at the core of who you are, there's that true superpower. And that's what lives at your absolute core. It's exercised naturally without conscious thought. And it flows from a place of innate freedom and joy. It's not added to you. It is uncovered within you. Now, if your child has some natural gift and ability, which they do, and you were able to identify that before they got started schooling, you could potentially align their schooling with what you know they already know how to do naturally. That would be like the perfect picture of you preparing your kids for the next level. And so in the last chapter, we briefly, well, I don't think I went into it, talked about the idea of man-made heroes and natural made heroes. The man-made heroes, they were born from trauma or a tragic accident. Take people like Spider-Man, Superman, Batman, Iron Man, those men. And they have the archetypes listed there. But basically, the things that made them super were external things that happened to them. And then you have your natural self, your natural hero. And that's where the vivid self comes from. These are people who were born with innate, unique gifts that were God-given, and that their core identity was hidden inside of them in plain sight. They basically understood their superpower by learning that they could naturally do something. And those would be like Superman, Wonder Woman, Jesus Christ, yes, and even Neo from the Matrix. He was already super. He was already the one. He just didn't realize it. So the answer down here is stop trying to build a man-made hero when you were born a natural one. Come on, all right? So then I just mentioned Neo from the Matrix. He had been looking for Morpheus for years, and he was losing sleep. He wanted to engage with Morpheus, and he didn't even really know why. He wanted something. He wanted to be trained by him. He had heard something about Morpheus and didn't know how he could help, but he knew he needed help trying to release something greater out of him than what was already there. So you have, he was given the option of the blue pill, which erases the encounter. You could wake up with the alarm blaring, returning to the fogginess of Mr. Thomas Anderson, repeating the upstream struggle of the reduced self. Or then you have the red pill. The red pill reveals a truth you didn't suspect. You are already the hero. Like Neo, discovering his innate power. Like Neo, discovering his innate power, taking flight doesn't require building a new identity, but waking up to the one that has always existed. And basically, you cannot improve your way across a threshold. Improvement keeps you on the same side of the river. A threshold is the end of the old self. I love The Matrix, by the way. It's one of the greatest stories about the realm we lived in, where we are not stuck in one space, but there's a matrix around us where things are happening whether we know it or not. But engaging it, getting in there, becoming who you're meant to be, who you were meant to be before you got out of your mama's body and you came out. Here we are. Okay, so this next slide is info from the my white paper, and it talks about how we can achieve getting to the master switch, and we call that the law of transformation. So there's focus, which is directed attention directly into something that brings us to a specific spot. Then we have the meaning, which is tied to your internal purpose, and motivation becomes intrinsic. So you are naturally motivated when you focus on something that now has meaning to you. And then we step into repetition, where our brains and our minds and your whole body begin to repeat cycles of things that we are learning about ourselves with focus and the meaning behind it. And so then neuroplasticity is what is practiced becomes who we are. So focus, meaning, repetition leads to the master switch, which is surrender. Sometimes it's hard to focus on things, and even though we know what it means and we repeat it, but if you've ever had a cycle of remembering things where you focus on what the word, like learning spelling words, we were like learning a long word, and we start in pieces, syllables, so that we can then put them all together and remember the word. So that's how we go through and learn to get to the spelling bee. So when we get to the main space, we learn and easily accomplish the sound that this makes, and we use that sound and keep going so that we can drop each syllable into the space where the word goes, and we get to surrender into it, because releasing control of the situation and just doing it because it's natural causes us to drop our egos and quiet the frontal lobes so that we can just do it naturally, not have to think about it, not have to concentrate on how to spell that word again. So if any dial is set to 0, the result is 0. Surrender is the ultimate counterintuitive mechanism that unlocks the entire circuit. So this is what we're doing. We're finding what we're good at because it's naturally inside of us. Think back to what you used to do, what you used to love to do. You know, if you woke up early Saturday morning, sat in front of the TV, got you a bowl of cereal first, and your favorite ones were about to come on, and you just start eating cereal and watching superheroes. They didn't know that they were training us. And we didn't know that they were training us. But we all had our favorite superheroes. We all had our favorite times where we could just imagine being that superhero and what we could do as expressing our power. And so Here you have a Venn diagram. You have the choice to wake up with the red pill. You have the vivid self, the childhood clarity recovered. Then we have the natural hero, who you are, the innate superpower exercised effortlessly. And all those three pieces match together to begin to shift your paradigm. Improvement is man-made. It is forcing the reduced self to try harder against its own current with the same information flowing through it. So there was no real shift to something that was already inside. You're using outside information to try to shift your current man-made actions to try to make you better. And then the transformation part is what's natural. It's surrendering to the vivid self you are already born to be, and knowing that you don't need to try harder. You need to get back into the synchronicity of who that natural superhero was introduced as. And sometimes if you were introduced as the wrong thing, then you might have to think through what else you need to go through or go back to remind yourself who you really are. And so that's that. So then you have villains. And these villains actually show up later in chapter 8. But for now, we are looking at now versus later. So one of your villains might be procrastination. Right here on this slide, you see the resistance of later. The reduced self does not fight the crossing by saying never. It fights by saying later. So it looks at things and sees the possibility of it, but it will say, maybe we can get to that later. We'll find a time. We'll get to it later. It disguises itself as tomorrow, convincing you to wait until you feel more ready. Readiness is a feeling the reduced self will never grant you. It'll always be a little later. There's a dangling carrot for the horse that's trying to drive you somewhere but gets distracted. But you have to put that carrot in their face and dangle it so that it gives you it goes along the route that you want it to go. So no dangling carrots, no later. So the power of now. Now is a powerful word because it gets you out of your seat and makes you take action. A threshold is not earned by your flawless record. It is opened by your willingness. So instead of saying later, I'll get to it later, it's like, why not now? Why not just get up and do that part right now? You can break it up into pieces. You don't have to do the whole thing all at once. You don't come into class today and learn everything, and then tomorrow, overnight, you're going to sleep on it and come out as who you are, like the big superhero that you are. But identity does not lead Identity does not lead the crossing. It answers it. You move first and the becoming follows. So I'm using words that kind of link to the other, but that's the thing. So when you have stood up and said, okay, I'm willing to get started right now. Let's break this up or break it into pieces. What's the first thing I need to do? Okay, where's my pen and paper? I'm gonna write that down. I need to do this. Your identity does not lead the crossing. It answers it. So you're crossing into your next thing and you have the first step. The first step opens the door automatically. It's like Get Smart. Remember that guy? He would walk toward the door and the doors open without him touching anything. It's just his presence that woke up the signal for the doors to open. Like going to the grocery store now. Those are Get Smart tools. When the automatic doors open, like that. Okay? So then, as you're moving, everything begins to align to your path, which has been laid out for you one step at a time. All right? So this whole presentation is a really, it's a short indication of where you're going. Today is a day that you can start asking your own questions. Ask yourself these questions. There are some reflection questions in the book that you can probably go through, and they're lines. So this is a book slash journal, because it has journal lines for you to ask yourself questions, determine some things that you're being asked, and think through it. And I think it will help you to identify your superpowers and how to apply those into your life, so that you begin to the whole process of, you've identified it, you are looking at how to use it, how other people might use theirs, you're practicing it, you repeating it, and eventually you're maintaining a certain level of it in everything you do, so that when people look at your actions, they can see you in that action and know that that's what they can expect from you, because it becomes who you are instead of something you can do. It's who you are. I'll say it again. So one of the questions I want to put out to you is, if you were working. One of the questions I want to ask you is a pause for reflect. One of the questions I want to ask regarding your life during the pandemic is, if you were out of work during the global pandemic, what did you do with the extra time? Right? Okay. So then, if you were out of work, when did you return to your old job role, or did you start a new one? Was it the same field of interest? Would you rather be doing something else? If so, what? Some people started businesses. Some people thought about how they could invest the money. Other people just kind of, went shopping. What did you do? Okay. So let me see what other questions I might have for you that maybe you can go through and power up on. Power up is something I set up at the end of every chapter. I wanted to ignite you, because my superpower, if you haven't determined it yet, is motivation and encouragement and being your cheerleader. That's me. I am that person. And so I have a power up for you. It says, power up. We're living in a time when people have said no to going to jobs to do things they hate. A lot of those people don't quite know what they're supposed to be doing, but they know they are not meant to be running on a hamster wheel waiting for a check every 2 weeks. If they haven't realized what yet, it might be a good job or a good idea to continue to run on that hamster wheel until you find which direction you need to go next. So if you're one of those people, will you let me help you find your superpower? It's somewhere inside of you, waiting to be discovered and honed to change you and the world around you. You ready? Let's go get it. So today is the marker. A threshold with a date is the one thing later cannot survive. Do not negotiate with the old self. Plant the marker in the ground. Declare out loud, I am becoming who I was made to be. You are the vivid one. Your true self is being restored, and your crossing has already begun. Wow, right? That was pretty cool. I enjoyed talking through that with you, and I'm interested to know what you thought. If it landed, if anything landed, if it made sense to you, if it answered some questions you've had about what am I here for, or God, what do you want me to do? If you've never asked that question to God, He is your maker. And so the best way to hear from Him is to talk to Him, just like a regular person. And how do you know His voice? Know if that was you, God. Hey, God, it's me, whoever. Your name goes there. I'd like to hear your voice. I'd like to hear you tell me what I'm supposed to do. What is my superpower? What can I do naturally that people have to go to school to learn to do? I want to know. That's an easy way to start talking. Just keep talking. And if you don't know His voice yet, ask Him very simple questions. Ask Him if He loves you. Ask Him if He loves your enemy. Ask Him if He loves political figures. You might be really impressed or offended by what He says about who He likes or loves. Okay, so that'll be it for today for me. I pray that you have been blessed. I also pray that you come back with the book so that we can write in it. You can write in it and start answering some of those questions. We'll be covering chapter 2 next week, and that chapter will be all about your superpower ID. One of the things that a lot of people who are still wondering who they are and why they're here needs to do is go through an ID practice. Superpower ID is for you as much as the first chapter or the introduction. Every chapter in this book has lines for you to identify yourself, what you are meant to do, identify some of the powers that you have naturally, and to grow, locate, or determine, discover, identify, and continue to exercise those things around you, and then to maintain your ability to display those in your regular life, whether you can do that at the place you work now, or in somewhere that you can do on the side, or giving them to charities. Like if you go to church or you go to other places where your skill is needed and necessary and not anywhere else but in you, and you can add to them, go for it. So that's it for me today. Have a beautiful rest of your Superpower Saturday, and pick up the book. Order it off Amazon, or you might be able to find it somewhere else. I don't know where else on my website. But yeah, check it out, and you can download the white paper for free from Heaven's Intelligence. So I look forward to seeing you next time. Blessings to you. Goodbye.